it's National Doctors' Day. But I'm sure you already know that by now, because everywhere, on television, on social media, around us, people seem to be thanking our doctors and wishing our doctors a very happy Doctors' Day. People are saying this is the time to celebrate them. People are saying this is the time to express our gratitude for their selfless service in the last 1.5 years and how they have helped us, risking their own lives in this health emergency. And they're right, it is. But I have a problem with the people who just stop at that. I have a problem when we just stop with the show and don't act. When we just stop by using the words thank you, but in our actions don't show the gratitude. And I think that if we truly do value our medical fraternity, our medical community, our doctors and our nurses, the ASHA workers, the paramedics, the ambulance drivers, everybody part of the entire medical setup, then we have to show it from our actions, starting with the governments and then the people. What are those key things that our doctors and the rest deserve but don't often get? Let's pledge tonight that we will ensure, either from our own behavior, from whatever way we can support, or by demanding it from our MLA, MP, government, that you get this done. What is it that we should really be doing on National Doctors' Day or any other day to show our gratitude and support to the medical fraternity? Number one, ensure that they get their salaries and dues on time. Over the next 1 hour, I will actually give you examples. Every month, we get few stories from one part of the country or the other where some medical class fraternity is on a protest, on a strike, or simply appealing for their own salaries and pending dues which don't come on time. COVID health insurance, a scheme much announced and promoted by the government, but numbers show that there is a big concern in the implementation. The healthcare workers themselves have been talking about how even the families of those who've lost their loved ones to COVID from the healthcare sector haven't got this insurance money. What's the point of a policy that doesn't work? Better infrastructure facilities. And this is not just now for the medical fraternity, but for each one of us and you. We can't expect doctors and nurses to work in hospitals with no equipment, barely any protective gear, no electricity, medicines not coming on time, salaries not being paid. Let's build better primary health care, better hospitals, secondary health care, tertiary health care, from villages to our towns and cities. Protection from violence. What is the point of showering petals on them on one day in a year, but turning around and abusing them, blaming them, hitting them, attacking them, torturing them, pelting stones, destroying their wards and hospitals, when we get upset with the way they have treated our loved one, when we get upset because we've lost somebody, when we get upset when we see our loved one not improving or recovering and we don't know what's going wrong. Protection of our doctors and nurses and every other healthcare worker from violence should be the most important thing that we all strive to do, and the governments and the police. Adequate protective gear. How many stories have you heard in the last 1.5 years where these healthcare workers have had to go out in the field without proper protective gear to save them from COVID? And good access to mental health care. Do we even think about it? Our hospitals, our governments, thinking about the mental stress and the trauma that this fraternity has gone through in the last 1.5 years? Are we addressing that? Are we factoring that in and supporting them? Today, let's not waste another National Doctors' Day by simply saying thank you. Let's talk about you. Tell us about your life. It's a great gesture. It will make them feel good for half a day. And then tomorrow, when they go back to work, they will realize how the support system isn't good enough, how they may get beaten up just in the next 1 hour if a patient dies, how they still have to figure out how to pay bills because the salaries are due and haven't come in. These are the things we must fix. Let's talk about it. I say good evening to Dr. Sameer Dalwai, developmental pediatrician and NCP spokesperson, Rama TC, Asha Union State Vice President from Karnataka, Dr. Arvinder Singh, Chairman for the Liver Transplant and Regenerative Medicine at Medanta and RF Hospital, Colonel Beenu Sharma, Senior Vice President for Nursing Services at Columbia Asia Hospitals, Dr. Suvrankar Datta, Junior Resident at AIIMS, General Secretary, the Federation of All India Medical Association, and Aarti Sate, lawyer and spokesperson for the BJP. Good evening and thank you to all of you for joining us this evening. Dr. Arvinder, if I can start off with you, and of these points that I've listed, what would be the most important that you think we should first begin addressing? Or maybe not amongst these 6 points, but anything else which you think is a bigger issue that we should address?
So, Tanvi, you've actually listed out a lot of the points which all of us keep lamenting about. Let me be very clear. Being a doctor is a calling. All of us became doctors so that we could heal, so that we could save lives. We don't want anything out of this. We get most of our gratification in healing people. As for the rest, we're looking for some respect, some appreciation. There should be enough beds. There should be enough supplies, and policymakers should obviously provide this, and they should provide the vaccines. So specifically, in relation to COVID, so that we can get over this pandemic. And, we're not gods, so don't be violent if you lose a loved one. I mean, we didn't give them the disease and we didn't make that happen so that, unfortunately they died. So we don't control that. We just do our best according to the science we know and work very hard to save as many lives as we can. But money cannot buy life. So please don't be upset with doctors and nurses if somebody loses a loved one. We've almost always done our best. Having said that, what we would like and what we would plead with people to do, specifically in relation to COVID, is to just observe COVID-appropriate behavior. Do not be hesitant to get the vaccination done when you have access to vaccines. Those are the 2 things you can do to help yourselves, to help your society, and to help lower our burden. So those are the initial messages that I would, get across to everyone.
Yes, Dr. Soin, in fact, you mentioned an extremely important one that I missed out on my list, and which is to follow COVID-appropriate behavior. I mean, I think that's the basic and the simplest thing that we can do without any added effort that will make all of your lives so much easier and simpler in terms of handling the cases. Rama TC, good evening to you. What is it that we can actually do? क्या कर सकते हैं हम ऐसे जो जिससे genuinely हमारा gratitude show करे?
First of all, whatever you have mentioned, madam, it is really true and it is happening. And first of all, I would like to pay homage, my respectful homage to the warriors who have laid down their lives to save the humanity, madam. So as the doctor was telling, we are not gods to save the people, but whatever we can to the society, that much we are giving. But madam, I represent AIUTUC. I am from Karnataka state. So point here I would like to mention, as you are basically putting your points, that we have been hailed and the petals are put on us, and very correctly said that we are very, very less paid, very less paid. And every year you see the ASHA workers are on streets and demanding the government for proper payment. And you know, the women here are single women, widow women, and helpless women. They have been taken into this work, and the treatment of the government is very, very negligent, and they are exploited the most, I can say. And they are not even considering as workers. So for every some 36 line items we work on, and every case is mentioned from 50 paisa to the highest goes to 300 rupees. So point is, whatever work I get, how many cases I get, I am paid on that basis. It is called incentive basis. So we are the exploitation is maximum in this field. And you know, they hail us, they say you're walking gods. So that way they say, with all praises, they make us work. But in reality, for every single pie we are on a street, not either the state government, nor the central government is responding to this.
Hmm.
You may be shocked. We were paid only 400 rupees, 300 rupees. So the 2009 we started our work. From then 300 rupees to 400 rupees we have been working. And for a decent living we are demanding at least minimum wage should be given to us and considered as a worker. This is our demand from the day one. And you know, now after a long fight, the state government in Karnataka state government is giving only 4,000 rupees. The central government is doing nothing. And I know very well, and you also know very well, during this COVID period, how from the day one, last March, we started our journey to work in this COVID. Still now we are working, madam. And you know, we are just thrown to the streets without any, what to say, we are called as warrior without any gears, protective gears we are sent to the field. We have to save our life. Time and again, we are asking the government to give protective gears. Nothing has been given. Most neglected.
Hmm.
They are just left to the street, and I can show you. I've sent you some photographs also. The swab collection, this COVID swab collection to quarantining people. Everything that we are doing, we are not to do with that. We are not to do those things, but we are made to do taking the patient to the hospital and what to say consoling them and motivating them to go to the hospital. From there it starts. And swab collection also they have put on us. Everything we are doing without any protective gears. And time and again we have brought to the notice of the state government and even to the central government, but no action has been taken. Whenever we do strike, a minimum things little bit they give and they share their responsibility. So time and again we have been asking this. And also, madam, you see, as you were mentioning, many have lost their lives while serving this COVID during this period of COVID. Many have lost their lives. Particularly coming to Karnataka, I can say, from last first wave, we have lost 12 of ASHA workers. They have died, and the second wave, 10 ASHA workers have died, and more than 2,000 in the second wave have got affected. The COVID, they have succumbed to COVID. And I can say, madam, only 2 people as of now have got the insurance. Central government has announced 50 lakhs rupees as an insurance for these people, but only 2 people as of now have got. And I feel very much pained. We are hailed as God, but nothing in reality. And now time and again we are protesting. Last 24th also we had an online protest because we are not allowed to go to street. All ashes are burning. We are already serving in the streets. Why not go to the government? We will go to the field. We will go out and protest again now. Our lives are at risk and
Yes.
we are not paid. 3 months, 4 months, no salary.
Yes.
How to work? How to live? So this is the negligence of the government.
It's
Insurance they have not
heartbreaking,
given. 3,
Ramaji.
4 months.
Yes, it's heartbreaking to
Yes.
even hear what you're saying. And, you know, we, of course, know this as the truth, but it's not so often spoken about. The fact that you are, you know, hardly given any salary, and that's not just a problem in Karnataka. Maharashtra, Telangana, every other state. It's a nationwide problem.
Yes, ma'am.
Then the salaries
Yes, yes.
are pending for months together. Then there is the problem that you're not even giving proper protective gear. You are literally the front row of our frontline workers, because you are out there first in the field and you're going into people's homes, you are doing the surveys, you're spreading awareness, you are helping the patients. Dr. Dalwai, then why is it that the ASHA workers, state after state after state, get ignored in such a manner? Is it because they are not considered to be as skilled as the rest of the medical fraternity? What is it that explains this situation?
Yes, you are absolutely right, because it's very important for everybody to know that the healthcare system doesn't depend or is not driven only by doctors. If it's the entire state of the country, or an intensive care unit, or a newborn intensive care unit, or a cardiac care unit, it is eventually the paraphernalia and the other personnel, the nurses, the ward boys, the maushis, everybody else who works in the ICU, who is perhaps as important in the ultimate outcome as a doctor is. And I don't think any one of them is more important than the others. Eventually, somebody who's more important than all the healthcare workers, including the doctors, somebody who's more important is the patient. And hence, very clearly, everything must be focused on delivering a good outcome, which is saving the life of the patient. Unfortunately, what happens is, without blaming anybody, I would like to say it's a culture. It's a culture in the country where health is not a political issue. Let me put it that way. If elections tomorrow were to be decided, and the main issue, the main mudda jise kehte of the election in this country would be to health and education, that would be a country which is going to look after itself. Unfortunately, we are still caught up in this religion and caste and all these other political imbroglios. And this is the true tragedy behind it. Why we have the healthcare budget doesn't move beyond 1 to 2%, whether it's a state or it's a country. And that's because, unfortunately, here again is the doctor is the God belief. I am not very happy having that belief. It's not about the ego. It's about the wrongly placed expectations from the doctor. Because at the end of the day, we described how the doctor is as good as the hospital, as the supporting staff, and as much as the equipment and the medications. It's not only in the doctor's hands. So, and hence you have examples of where a doctor who, the hospital didn't have oxygen, and I don't want to politicize this, but the doctor goes out to get an oxygen cylinder, is still being made a scapegoat. And this happens in state after state, irrespective of the government in power. That's because on one hand, we don't give a great premium to health care as a citizen. But when we fall ill, we expect that the doctor is a god. He will be able to save us without medicines, without trained nurses, without trained staff. So somewhere we need to have a debate or a discussion like you are having right now to put it in the proper perspective that as a citizen, first, I need to look after wellness. That is my own good health. And second, if I do fall ill, I need a very good medical or a healthcare sector which is tuned to support me. And if it isn't good enough, I can show my anger or my disappointment by voting against the government on this point.
Okay, so from our end, what we can do is have more of these conversations and break it out. But at some point, the governments, the states will have to become accountable for fixing these issues as well. One part, though, which is under our control, Colonel Binu Sharma, is the response of the people, where you stop blaming the medical staff for everything that goes wrong. A lot of times, because there is no other option, you know, in that you are emotional, you're angry at your loss, you perhaps don't also understand the medical reasons behind it. But that needs to stop as well. There is much debate happening about coming up with a new law or if the existing law is enough. But violence against the healthcare fraternity is a big concern in our country, and we need to figure out how to stop it. Colonel Sharma.
Thank you, Tanvi. First of all, let me extend my appreciation and acknowledgement to the doctors on behalf of the nursing fraternity. They are doing outstanding work. If they were not there, we would not have been able to save millions and millions of patients throughout, and especially in the pandemic. As a nurse, let me put the perspective back. Nurses are an integral part of the healthcare system. If doctors need to be outstanding in their competencies, in their diagnosis, in the treatment they give, nurses are supposed to carry that out as efficiently. Before going to the point you're asking, let me put it across. not enough has ever been done for the nursing fraternity in our country. If you need a doctor like Dr. Soin to execute fantastic liver transplant, do we have the nurses well trained? Have we allocated any resources to make them competent? How a patient of transplant is going to go out of the hospital without complications if you didn't have a well-trained manpower and many other things which can come later in the discussion. So the focus on the nursing is yet not there in our country, although they are integral part of the entire framework of managing patients. Our country is so much diversified, from nursing home to a private hospital to a public hospital. The compensation, the working conditions, the training, the standard of education, the facilities they get. Sometimes it is so pathetic, a nurse may never want to step in. Why are we losing all the nurses to outside countries? Have you ever heard a nurse coming from Middle East or UK or Europe to come and work in India? It's not that we do not have great doctors or great hospitals. It is that we do not have great facilities, infrastructure, and anything defined well for the nursing team. Coming to the point of violence you have just raised, every single day in some hospital or the other, in rural, in urban, in a nursing home, in a multi-speciality, best of the hospital in the country, doctors, nurses are the first ones to be attacked by the relatives or the family members. Why? Is it the fault of a doctor or a nurse the patient is losing life? The trust from the public has completely disappeared. Doctors were God when I came into the profession 44 years back. 1977, 78, I'm talking about. Doctors were gods and nurses were angels. In books, it might be still written. No more doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals, saviors or warriors, are treated that way. They are the first ones to be attacked. And at that time, mostly, it is the caregivers, these people who are attacked. There are so many ordinance, guidelines, there are signages in the hospital, but families feel it's the wrong treatment or the wrong treatment executed by the nurse that the patient has lost life. If the hospitals didn't have adequate oxygen or a ventilator or a CPAP or a bed available, and patients were dying outside in a car, outside the emergency room or on the hospital bed, but without the required equipment, is that doctor's fault? But still doctors get attacked. Still nurses get attacked. So when are we going to change that scenario among our communities and societies, that they have to understand doctors and nurses are not responsible for killing.
Yeah.
They will do their level best to save lives once a patient reaches the hospital gate.
Yeah, you're
That is my
absolutely
point of
right.
view right now.
How do we fix this? Dr. Soin, I come to you before I go to the other two panelists as well, because this is an extremely important issue. Like Colonel Sharma was pointing out, every day there are instances being reported. Now, is law the solution? Is tougher punishment the solution? Will sensitization work here?
I think it all has to start with awareness and sensitization, because people have to be aware that doctors are not gods, and diseases are treated by doctors according to set protocols and science that has evolved over time by experience of thousands of patients across the world for any given disease. There are treatments which are not 100% successful and safe. There are surgeries which are not 100% successful and safe. Just because you have the money to spend to get treated in a hospital, it doesn't assure you that your loved one will be saved. So these things are matters of understanding in society, that you have to spread the awareness and you have to sensitize the public that, they are just kind of messengers of the science of medicine. They implement what is known. That's it. They try their best, but they cannot guarantee you your life. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, yes, of course, if people indulge in violence, there should be severe punishments for those kind of people. You cannot have, doctors and nurses and other healthcare workers being attacked by irate relatives
Next,
if things
demand
don't
side.
if things don't go well with their loved ones. So yes, punishment is definitely a close second.
Yes. So punishment. I think to set an example, to send a message, to make people understand that this is not
Absolutely.
acceptable. Maybe Dr. Datta, we stop calling you guys gods and angels, and say no, you're humans. You're doing what you can. This is the best that can be done. Beyond that, it's not possible. Will that help? Because there's also a perception that a lot of times doctors get blamed for people believing hospitals are overcharging. ये लूट रहे हैं, ये झूठ बोल रहे हैं, इनको सिर्फ ज़्यादा दवाई देनी है, इनको सिर्फ पैसा और चाहिए, तो इसलिए ये सब कर रहे हैं. That
So
also perhaps becomes a reason.
So I think even as a society, we are less accepting of adverse outcomes. That is the other problem. So we want to pin the blame of someone not getting well on something.
Yeah.
Whether it's late, whether it's our own relative who took the patient late to the hospital, or if it's a doctor or the hospital who didn't give the bed early enough, or they didn't give the medicine early enough. You want to pinpoint the problem in somebody not getting well. You want to blame someone. And that's a mentality we must get out of.
Datta, would you like to come in on this as well? What can be done?
Yeah. See, I represent the junior doctors of the country. I lead a forum called FIMA, and we hold regular meetings all across the country with different resident doctor associations as well as junior doctor associations. We have had discussions on this issue, and we have tried to analyze the root cause of why violence happens in our healthcare system. See, one thing we have to accept right now that is healthcare system in our country has been historically neglected by governments decades after decades. The amount of expenditure we do on our healthcare systems is very, very minuscule compared to a lot of things which we spend money on. So this, as Dr. Swain very rightly pointed out, is a culture which is being followed. And one major thing which we feel very strongly should be done is to immediately increase the healthcare expenditure and make our systems better and very well suited to cater to the growing expectations which the public has from the system. See, today people are armed with smartphones, they have Google, they are much more knowledgeable, and with knowledge, their expectations have increased a lot. And when you go to a public healthcare setup, like I work at AIIMS, which is a public hospital, you can see the ratio of the doctors to the patients which come to our government hospitals. That's like very, very small. And the number of doctors, especially the junior doctors who work in the emergency departments and are the first people to see a patient, their numbers are very, very less. The population of the country has been increasing, but the number of doctors has not increased. That's the truth. And second thing which we have felt is that we need strong acts. We have different state-wise acts for doctor safety, but what is lacking is the implementation. The people who engage in violence and assault on healthcare professionals, a huge chunk of them enjoy political patronage from various parties, the ruling parties as well as the opposition. And this is the truth. And that is the thing, the kind of entitlement which they feel, which they have over the healthcare workers, whoever it is, the doctors, the nurses, the karmacharis who work, they feel entitled. And when unfortunately we fail to save a critical patient, they think that ye to hamara hak hai, patient kyun nahi bacha? It's what are the doctors. This is the major crux of the reason for the violence at our workplaces. So expenditure on healthcare needs to be pumped up ASAP, and we need to ensure that there are very strong central protection acts which ensures two things. One is it should be an unbailable offense. Just for showing to the public you arrest someone and then release them on bail after the issue mellows down, that is not how it should be. There should be very strict punishments, and it should be done in a time-bound manner. there should be a given time. Within 48 hours, 72 hours, you should arrest those culprits. They're roaming scot-free in the environment. And so these are the two major demands. And I think these two should be looked at by whichever government, the central or the state, whoever is working to solve this major issue of violence on doctors.
You know, and I think all of this also, you know, creating a safe environment and a better environment, which also means better healthcare facilities, which also means more training, which also means
Yes.
more trained professional, more doctors, more nurses. Otherwise, you'll always be overworked and you will be underpaid as well. Aarti Sathe, these are some of the things that need to be addressed. Maybe what Dr. Dalwai is saying is also right. Because this is not a election agenda ever, it doesn't get the attention it deserves. Can we change that with an experience of a pandemic?
First and foremost, I would like to extend my wishes on this very important day, which is the Doctors' Day. And I would extend my wishes to all the frontline workers, the ASHA workers, the nurses, the paramedics, everybody who has really contributed in helping all of us, or rather saving millions of lives. So I think I won't say that they are gods or anything, because that's really putting them in unrealistic expectations. And when those unrealistic expectations take place, the trickle effect is the violence which we were talking about, and which most of the doctors on the show have spoken, the ASHA workers have spoken, that having unrealistic expectation is the first point because of which this violence takes place. Coming to your question, that is it not an election issue and hence we are neglecting healthcare? I think that's completely wrong. The pandemic has brought to fore certain anomalies in the system which may have to be fixed and which will definitely be fixed. Today, we heard the Prime Minister say very categorically that though he gave the status of God, but at the same time, in a very realistic fashion, to say that these doctors are really the backbone of dealing with this pandemic. And he has announced a package of 15,000 crores for the medical infrastructure. As soon as the pandemic started, in fact, we have moved an ordinance to say that the crimes which are committed against the doctors should be made a non-bailable offense. We have seen to it that we have started a digital platform whereby, doctors are also facing emotional issues, medical issues. So this government definitely doesn't think that health is only a political issue. And because it's not something which will, be on the top front of agendas of many, many parties, it should, not really be the top subject. So we as a government are definitely taking steps. I can read out a list of things which the government has done since the beginning of the pandemic. Let's face it, this pandemic has taken the whole world by storm. Nobody in their rightest mind, in fact, countries like Italy, which have the highest GDP, or America, which have the highest GDP for healthcare, have failed. So this pandemic definitely has taken the whole world by storm. India may be lagging behind insofar as GDP for healthcare is concerned, but we are definitely ramping up. There was a time at the beginning of the pandemic where we did not even have PPE kits. Today, we are in a position to export PPE kits. We are in a position to have our own masks. We have ramped up our testing facilities. We have ramped up so many things. So really, the pandemic may be a wake-up call. The pandemic definitely gave us a perspective that there are issues which need to be addressed. Also,
so,
we
for
need
example,
to
Aarti Sathe, you say that this is not the truth, that we are extremely cognizant. 15,000 crores that the cabinet cleared a couple of days ago to build more healthcare infrastructure on an emergency basis in times of a pandemic. Dr. Dalwai, just give me 30 seconds. But Aarti Sathe, let's just take one example of a great scheme with a very good intention that your government announced, which was the insurance for healthcare workers, and especially for those who've died in times of COVID under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. State after state has given us numbers that show barely a percentage, Aarti, have actually got that money. Now, so what's the point of the scheme if it doesn't work on ground?
Well, if the scheme has not worked on ground, because I don't have the statistics right now as to which state or how many beneficiaries have got it. So I cannot say that the scheme has failed. You can give me statistics. Those statistics will be put before the concerned ministry if the scheme has absolutely failed to be implemented. But the point here I'm making is completely different. Implementation, the fact that we were dealing with waves after waves of the pandemic, the government, it's an ever evolving situation. The government was working, or is rather working, on a 24/7 basis for this pandemic. Look at it this way: when the shortage of PPE was there, we ramped that up. The moment there was a shortage of masks or oxygen, we ramped that up. The moment there is a vaccine issue, we ramp that up. So the question is that we are working on this as the situation is evolving, and at the same time trying to ramp up or look to the future to really ramp up all the facilities, medical infrastructure facilities.
Okay.
So if the implementation of the scheme has got slightly delayed, and like I said, I once again want to say that I do not have the statistics
So
of the
I'll tell you,
beneficiaries, so I don't know.
it's such a big problem that even the finance ministry has been forced to acknowledge it and ask the insurance companies to look into it, because so far,
Fair enough. So
as of the
that's
last
the whole
report, only
point.
419 claims were settled. Only 419 claims in a country that size.
That really helps to me to even tell you that the finance ministry
No,
has
it
probably
doesn't.
said that we are looking.
Because
Of course,
saying look
but
into what has happened doesn't give the
let's be
money,
fair.
doesn't give the money to Miss
no.
Rama's colleagues'
Tanvi,
family.
Please be fair. You
Let me
cannot just go on an attacking spree.
I am
when
not,
you're asking me a question.
Aarti,
and when
I am
you're
not
giving me the
attacking you
statistics,
firstly. This is an
let me
extremely
first make my
civil
point.
conversation.
I'm being
Ma'am,
very
can I speak
sensitive.
out?
I'm being
You
very
don't know,
sensitive to the
Aarti.
whole issue.
You said you don't
1
know.
minute,
Allow
Tanvi.
me to tell you
1
what you
minute,
don't know.
Tanvi. 1
Allow me
minute,
to
Tanvi.
tell
If
you
have
what you
told
don't
me
know.
something, you've told me something. I need
Ma'am,
to
can
tell
I
you.
speak
I
out?
need to tell you what in return. You have told me that the finance ministry has expressed the fact that they are unable to do it. Definitely, there are glitches in which we will look at it. So the point I'm trying to make is the government is sensitive, the government is committed. Implementation may be a delayed process because I just told you we are dealing with this situation. It's an ever evolving situation. And that's why sometimes there could be a disconnect between the implementation and the announcement of schemes. That is all that I wanted to say.
Ma'am, can I
Yes.
speak out, ma'am?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. I am from Asha Union. Actually, madam, we are working at the lowest level, direct to the people. And ma'am was telling that the insurance, time and again we have gone to the government and we are not paid well. Families depend on us. And ma'am
Sure.
saying that it is delayed, sorry, I am simply taken aback by this word. This cannot answer us. And also I can say, ma'am, how much we are paid for COVID works? Only 1,000 rupees from the central government. From morning till night we work, we risk our life. Only 1,000 from the central government. This does not come to their notice. Ma'am, if you answer this, I'm very much pained by this answer. Still looking at things since 1.5 years. Why not answer these points? And we are paid 3-4 months delayed payment we are getting. Why this? Are we to risk our lives and die? Is that the solution you want from us? Ma'am, when you answer this, very much pained. You should have, as a responsible member, you should have answered. Sorry from our side. You should have answered by saying why the government is doing this.
Yes.
I don't think, Ms.
answer
Rama,
should
you
come from
heard.
this line.
I don't think you heard what I was saying properly, or maybe you misunderstood what I was saying. Right at the beginning of the show, I said that your role, the role that ASHA workers or any of the frontline workers have played, is an extremely important and crucial role. And the government is not at all going to forget that and is not going to forget it ever. Or neither are the people of India, or neither the whole world is going to forget. What I was trying to tell you is that if there is a delay in the implementation of certain schemes, it is because of the fact that the COVID situation itself has been a challenge. It has been a situation which none of the governments for the last 100 years have faced. The first pandemic, the pandemic which was seen was in 1918. After that, a pandemic of this size and scale has been seen only now. Every government in the world is grappling with the ever evolving situation. And so is our government in a country of our size and scale. So if there is a disconnect, that will be taken care of. That does not mean that the government is not sensitive to your needs and problems, is all that I'm trying to tell you.
ASHA workers have been around since 2009. As Rama herself pointed out, she was part of that when it started in Karnataka in 2009. It's not a problem that came along with the pandemic. These problems for the ASHA workers have existed since inception. And not just in Karnataka, in Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, they were on strike a few days ago. Another round of conversation happened. And like Rama was pointing out, every time there's a protest or a strike, there is a conversation, there is a promise, there's an assurance, maybe a minute change, and that's that. And then they are forgotten again. That's the larger conversation. It's great to say that we are in debt, we respect you, we are thankful to you, we stand by you, we are announcing the schemes, we're going to celebrate you.
Absolutely.
But if you're not able to protect them, if you don't pay their salaries on time, if you cannot listen to what they are saying, if you can't reduce their work pressure, if you can't give them proper healthcare facilities, then it doesn't really matter. That's what it is. Colonel Sharma wanted to come in earlier. Go ahead, please.
So, yeah, so I want to put across another point. Yes, everybody was recognized, lot of limelight, they are angels, they are good, this is happening. Nurses were overworked, each one was managing 20 to 30 COVID patients, and in the ICU 4 to 5 patients on ventilator, one nurse. No additional manpowers were granted. Nursing salaries were never increased throughout the pandemic time. During the first pandemic, many hospitals shut down because they were not authorized COVID hospitals. Nurses lost their jobs. They were hunting for jobs. They were going abroad. There were no flights. They sat at home without salaries. Insurance, you forget about it. Basics were not provided. They did 12 to 16 hours duty. Food, hydration, water, a place to rest, a transport to bring them from home. Nothing was done. There may be announcement of schemes. What got implemented at the ground level, at the end user level, is what matters to a doctor or a nurse or a ASHA worker. That never got done. Even now the situation is same. We have not paid any incentives to the people who have been working for so long during the second pandemic and are already mentally, emotionally ready for the third one. What happens to their families? Where is their high risk allowance? They were at highest risk, doctors and nurses. Where were the high risk allowances? Where were the incentives paid to them to risk their life and their people back at home? Aged parents, in-laws, newborn children. What are we talking about? What got done for them? Nothing additional, and what they were getting also did not get implemented because hospitals didn't have enough money to pay them. Vaccination, government gave it for free, but a lot of private hospitals did not give the vaccination for free, and the nurses themselves were spending money to get their COVID vaccine. So these all should have been taken care in such a big country, diversified pressure, global pressure, but these are basics. If you want caregivers to care well for patients, we have not cared for the caregivers in any form at all. Yes, we made PPE, we made masks. Did the nurses and doctors get the best quality of PPE kit? I don't think so. We need to do a survey on that. Otherwise, lakhs of nurses and doctors would not have been infected, and also many thousands wouldn't have lost life just within our country. Is my point.
Yes, and you what you said right there, leaving their family behind, in-laws, their newborn babies, their loved ones. So many cases that we know of healthcare workers, Dr. Dalwai, who didn't just get infected once, but twice. They've been, they've gone back to work. They've exposed themselves again without, objecting to it because it's their work. They've been infected again. They've stayed away from their families, quarantined for days together. And that's just the pandemic. But I want to say this is also a larger conversation. A pandemic is an excuse for us to talk about it. We never celebrated National Doctors' Day before the pandemic hit us, but the problem still existed. Dr. Datta's colleagues were still being beaten and attacked in hospitals across the country, Dr. Dalwai, even then, earlier. So the larger problem has always been there. How do you change that?
That's exactly what I meant earlier, that the larger problem is still because doctors are always made the scapegoats by politicians. Now, you're right, we were having a very civil debate here. But unfortunately, the problem with BJP is it wants to politicize every platform they get and to use propaganda. And unfortunately, they believe propaganda is more important than governance, which is why you have somebody we are discussing a very sacrosanct topic very seriously.
I object to this kind of behavior. I object. You are making a personal attack.
Please
You
don't
are making a
interrupt me.
personal
I have not
attack,
referred to
Mr.
you.
Dalway.
Please be quiet.
You are making a
Please be
personal
quiet.
attack.
Respect doctor.
Please.
You said some.
You
let
Can
me
we
cannot say
please,
finish.
can
BJP
we
is not
please
sensitive.
not do
I
this?
can talk about NCP endlessly.
Can
Please.
we
Go ahead.
please
You are
not
I
do
displaying your
this?
government's
I
attitude
object.
towards healthcare.
The
Your
point of
government's
the
attitude,
focus
we are not
tonight
politicizing it.
is the medical
You can finish
fraternity.
with the
Dr.
propaganda.
Dalwai, let's take to the focus of the
You
medical
finish.
fraternity. You've always done
Yes,
that
the
in
focus
any
of
show that
medical
we've had.
fraternity
Yeah.
lies in this.
I object to
It
this.
lies in
Please
this. The fact
stick to the
that
point.
have you finished your objection? Have you finished your
I will
propaganda?
not
Let me
finish till
speak.
you withdraw your
Okay,
statement.
Dr.
I will
Dalwai,
not finish
let's
till
stick
you
to the
withdraw.
I
point.
will
I
not
don't
withdraw
want
statement. You are
these
doing
precious
propaganda
minutes to
on
be
a very important
wasted.
topic.
Dr. Dalwai, let's stick to the point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that is because the government has misunderstood the importance of this. I don't blame her. Her leader went to Davos in January and was saying that India has conquered COVID. If this is the attitude of the leadership, what do you expect in the country? She was talking as if the country has, of course, no doubt we have fought a great deal. It's been the healthcare workers and the common citizens who have done it. PPE, if you have increased the PPE production, is that something to boast about? What happened in the second wave? Don't we all know? It is no reason to beat your chest on every small thing that we do. Let's be sensitive to the thousands of people who have died outside hospitals. This is not something to beat your chest and do propaganda about. Let's be humble about it.
Okay.
Let's be humble to each other. Let's not use every. I mean, there are 4 doctors on this panel who are saying, don't make us God. But here is somebody who wants to make our leader God. This is not the time and the place to do that. And which is why she objected to making this a political issue in the elections, because she knows very well if this becomes a political issue in the next elections, what is going to be the result. And I
Aarti
do hope
Sate.
that's what happens.
Aarti Sate.
Rather unfortunate that a doctor and an NCP spokesperson who talks about sensitivity and non-politicization went straight on to attack BJP, straight on to attack the Prime Minister,
That's
straight
because
on
you
to
brought
say
BJP.
that
There wasn't
because
any BJP Congress
straight on to say that we are non-sensitive,
There
but I will
wasn't any
ignore and
BJP
I will
Congress going on.
ignore.
Okay,
I
let
will
her make her
ignore
point,
his
please.
comments.
Let her make her
I will
point now.
ignore.
Yeah.
I will ignore his comments because I don't think those comments have any credence.
Okay.
Coming
okay.
to my point. Coming to my point is, as I have repeatedly said, whoever says about chest thumping or anything, if I come to the NCP, then it will really become an uncivil show, and I don't want to come to that. We are talking about doctors. We are celebrating doctors. We are celebrating frontline workers. And
No,
I
we are
will
not.
repeatedly say,
We are not celebrating, please. We are talking about what can you do for them.
Propaganda.
We don't want to celebrate unnecessarily with
propaganda.
words. We are talking about what can be done for them.
Well, if all of you all have finished talking what you all have to talk, then I may be given the last 2 minutes. We have done several things.
I have
and
to
we
tell
have come-
something. You
Yeah.
wanted a solution.
Dr. Datta, I'm coming to you next. I will come to you next. Let
We have
Aarti
done-
Sate just finish her point. Yes.
Right. Thank you. We have done several things. There are a list of things which I would like to read out. For purely paucity of time, I'm not reading it out. Again, I said the pandemic may be a wake-up call for a healthcare system which may have and which has anomalies. I'm accepting it from governments to governments. I'm not trying to say that the healthcare system in our country is tip-top.
Well done.
The point I was trying to make, and the point which was missed out on political issues, unfortunately, by a doctor, but as a lawyer, I have to clarify my position, is that what we did today is we ramped up in a situation which was an evolving situation. It is not chest thumping. It is a situation, there were conflicting needs. We did not know. Nobody envisaged. The central government gave advisories to the state government at the end of the first wave that, look, you'll better ramp up your oxygen facilities because the second wave is in the offing. Nobody took that advice seriously. And what happened? Today, Delhi was crying for oxygen. And there are remarks today to say that Delhi asked for 4x oxygen than was actually required. So let's face it. Everybody was caught in a situation which we were unprepared for. And that's exactly what the government did. With every evolving situation, we ramped up our facilities.
Okay.
And we need to do more. I am
Okay.
not saying we don't need to do more.
Okay. So we're going to leave it at we need to do more. We need to do a lot more, and especially directly for the people from the medical fraternity. Dr. Datta wanted to make a point of what can be done. Yes, go ahead.
Yes. See, we were talking about implementation, right? For implementation of any scheme, you need to be in touch with the people who are the end users. So I can tell you about the junior doctors. So we have a lot of forums. The reason we came together under FIMA is because our words and our appeals were not being heard. We have all tried to reach out to ministries multiple times. We don't get appointments. We have written hundreds of letters to different ministers, even to Narendra Modi ji, and we have not got any kind of response. So if you really want to know how to implement, we have a lot of intellectual people, we have a lot of brilliant medicos and doctors whom we are talking with each day. If you want to find out whether your schemes are being implemented, the schemes which you have introduced for healthcare, talk to us, establish channels through which we can talk to you. So this is number one. Second thing is that the second wave was not tackled as well as it could have been. Now we can deny this fact that no, that is an evolving situation. We understand that it was an evolving situation, but it could have been handled in a lot better way. We are ready to give you suggestions for the third wave and also tell you where all the implementation is lacking, but establish channels. We represent more than 18 state associations and mainly the junior doctors who are the major workforce leading the country's efforts in the pandemic. There has been not significant response. We have got scattered responses from state ministries, state health ministers, but nothing much at a central level from the central ministry. So we have our person representing the government, I believe. And this is my point. If you really want to implement, if you really want to find out whether your schemes and whatever you're trying to do is working at the ground level, establish channels for talking with us. And let's see whether we can work together instead of politicizing each and every issue which we are coming up with.
Yes, no, you're right. And I don't want to do politics, and I don't think anybody here needs to go down that road. The point is to have two political representatives, one of them being a doctor himself, to understand what has to be done. Because grandstanding and, and a lot of shosha is not going to help. Actions will show that. So an ASHA worker, a senior from the nursing community, a junior doctor and a senior doctor were invited on this panel to show the reality. ASHA workers who don't get properly paid, even whatever little they get paid doesn't come to them. They themselves have been victims of violence when they step out there to spread awareness, spread information, do service, do the basics of medical support. They even get attacked. Junior doctors, day in, day out, I don't even know how so many of them still manage to function under that kind of pressure, with the possible threat that some families of some patient may just turn around and attack them. Not just, patient families of common men, people in positions of power with better understanding of how the system works. Policemen, politicians, whoever wants to take out their frustration, turns around and attacks the first medical staff member they see inside the hospital in tough times. This can't be acceptable. These are the visuals we got just a few days ago from Madhya Pradesh. A cop who got into a scuffle, and look at the state of affairs once he was done vandalizing that place and fighting with the staff members. This cannot be the mindset. This is not reflective of a society who calls their doctors and nurses gods and expresses their gratitude every single day. There is no point of a National Doctors' Day if you don't show your respect to the medical fraternity via your actions. Better training, more staff members, better healthcare facilities, give attention to their mental health, address their mental health, give them proper protection gear, better salaries. And then we can say that we truly, genuinely are grateful to our medical fraternity. That's the only way. Let this pandemic be that wake-up call for us. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us on this conversation.